Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has signed a decree ruling out peace negotiations with Russia's President Vladimir Putin, though not with any other future Russian president. This comes as Ukraine continues to make headway in reclaiming areas Russia once occupied, including parts of Kherson and Crimea, according to Western officials. This just days after Russia annexed Kherson. Zelensky's comments are translated by Al Jazeera.
Today, the offensive movement of our army and all of our defenders continued. There are newly liberated settlements in several regions. Fierce fighting continues in many areas on the front. But the prospect of these hostilities is obvious. More and more occupiers are trying to escape. The enemy army is suffering more and more losses, and there is a growing understanding that Russia made a mistake by starting the war against Ukraine.
Still, Russia's President Vladimir Putin is expected to sign laws annexing 4 regions of Ukraine today: Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk, and parts of Zaporizhia. This after both houses of its parliament passed the annexations. President Joe Biden visited Puerto Rico Monday to survey damage from Hurricane Fiona and pledged aid to help the island recover. This visit comes as more than 100,000 people on the island remain without power 2 weeks after the devastating hurricane. Avery Luke reports.
President Biden announced he's providing more than $60 million in federal funding to shore up levees, strengthen flood walls, and create a new flood warning system to help the island better prepare for future storms following the devastation of Hurricane Fiona. Puerto Rico's Governor Pedro Pierluisi said Puerto Rico is entitled to the same level of disaster relief as any other part of the country would be.
We want to be treated in the same way as our fellow Americans in the States in times of need. All American citizens, regardless of where they live in the United States, should receive the same support from the federal government. We're confident that the President will heed our call for equal treatment because that is consistent with his priorities and his policies.
Biden pledged that his administration is committed to helping residents of the island recover, 44% of whom live below the poverty line.
And you deserve every bit of help your country can give you. That's what I'm determined to do, and that's what I promise.
The official number of fatalities from Hurricane Fiona stands at 25. I'm Avery Luke.
Nearly a week after Hurricane Ian smashed into Florida and carved a path of destruction that reached into the Carolinas, hundreds of thousands of Florida residents are facing another day without electricity. About 430,000 homes and businesses remain without power, and it will be the weekend before most power is restored. Meanwhile, Ian is still not done. Officials warn there's still the potential of coastal flooding from Long Island in New York south to North Carolina's Outer Bank from the hurricane's remnants. 78 deaths have been blamed on Ian, with 71 of them reported in Florida. North Korea has conducted its longest ever weapons test, a nuclear-capable ballistic missile that flew over Japan and could reach the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam and beyond. The launch early today forced the Japanese government to issue evacuation alerts and halt trains. It was the most provocative weapons demonstration by North Korea this year, as it pushes to develop a fully fledged nuclear arsenal capable of threatening U.S. allies and the American homeland, earning the country recognition as a nuclear state. The United States strongly condemned what it described as North Korea's dangerous and reckless decision to launch the missile over Japan today. Opening statements began Monday in the prosecution of the far-right group Oath Keepers, its founder, and other members charged in the deadly January 6 Capitol siege with seditious conspiracy. It's the heaviest criminal prosecution to come out of the deadly attack. Prosecutors argued Stuart Rhodes, founder, and 4 associates planned for an armed rebellion to stop the transfer of presidential power by any means necessary. They're accused of a weeks-long plot to stop the transfer of power from Republican Donald Trump to Democrat Joe Biden. Defense attorneys argued Rhodes did nothing illegal on January 6 and the government's case is completely wrong. It is a high-stakes case for the Justice Department, which last secured a seditious conspiracy conviction at trial 30 years ago. Recent reports show anti-Semitism hit record highs last year. both in New Jersey and nationally. In the House of Representatives, a committee heard testimony Monday from experts on hate and extremist violence. Christopher Martinez has more.
Witnesses say anti-Semitic incidents spiked to an all-time high last year, with the Anti-Defamation League logging 2,700 reports, the most since it began tracking reports in 1979. Kenneth Stern is director of the Center for the Study of Hate at Barnard College. He says people describe the attack on the Tree of Life synagogue as anti-Semitism, but no one calls the killing of Mexican Americans at an El Paso Walmart anti-Semitic.
But if you look at the ideology of the two shooters, they were almost identical. They just picked different targets. Imagine you're a white supremacist fearful of demographic changes. How can superior people be losing to their inferiors? Someone must be putting their fingers on the scale, and that's where Jews come in. Anti-Semitism throughout history is a belief that Jews conspire to harm non-Jews, and it provides an explanation for what goes wrong in the world.
Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.